Have you ever noticed how the moment you stop chasing, people start chasing you? The second you pull back, suddenly they lean in, the calls come more often, the interest grows stronger, and the presence they once ignored now becomes irresistible. Why is that? Why does distance pull harder than closeness? Why does silence speak louder than words? It's because detachment holds a power that few people ever master. You see, when you no longer grip so tightly, when you stop begging to be seen, when you stop needing others to complete you, something shifts. You become magnetic. You radiate a calm, unshakable energy that people can't quite figure out. And that mystery is intoxicating. The truth is, desperation repels. It pushes people away, makes you look smaller, weaker, dependent. But detachment makes you untouchable. It whispers confidence. It says, I don't need you to survive. I don't need you to validate me. I choose, but I don't chase. And that choice, that freedom, that independence is what draws people closer than any pleading words ever could. Think about it. The things you once obsessed over, when you let them go, they often return. The people you once begged for, when you walk away, they start noticing what they lost. And the moments you stop attaching your worth to someone else's attention, that's when they realize your value was higher than they ever recognized. Tonight, I want to show you why detachment doesn't just protect you. It creates the deepest attraction. Why letting go doesn't make you lose. It makes you irresistible. And why the strongest move you can make is not holding on tighter, but stepping back and watching everything you deserve come closer on its own. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood concepts in human behavior. The moment people hear the word, they imagine coldness, indifference, or a lack of love. They think detachment means you don't care, that you've shut yourself off from the world, or that you've built a wall around your emotions. But that's not what true detachment is. Detachment is not about pushing people away. It's about standing so firmly in your own worth that no one else can shake it. It's about knowing you could lose anyone or anything and still remain whole. That isn't indifference, that's power. When you are attached, you give away your control. You allow your emotions to be dictated by someone else's presence, actions, or approval. If they validate you, you feel high. If they ignore you, you feel low. You become reactive, unstable, and dependent. And in that dependency, you lose leverage. But when you are detached, your emotional state is yours and yours alone. No one can take it from you because you haven't placed it in their hands. That kind of stability is rare, and rarity is always attractive. Think about it this way. Attachment screams neediness. It says, I need you to fill me. I need you to complete me. I need you to make me enough. But detachment whispers strength. It says, I am already whole. I want you, but I don't need you. I can stand with you, but I will stand just as tall without you. That energy changes everything. People are drawn to it because in a world full of desperate chasers, the person who doesn't need anyone stands out. Now, let's break down why detachment is power. First, it gives you freedom. If you are not afraid to lose, you can never be manipulated. People can try to play games, but you won't flinch. They can withdraw their attention, but it won't break you. They can walk away. And while it may sting, it won't destroy you. That kind of freedom terrifies those who try to control others because they realize they have no grip on you. And when people see they can't shake you, they respect you, even if they don't admit it. Second, detachment creates space for clarity. When you're attached, your vision is clouded. You can't see the truth because you're blinded by your need. You overlook red flags. You ignore bad behavior. You excuse disrespect. Why? Because you're too afraid of losing the connection. But when you're detached, you see things as they are, not as you want them to be. You don't settle. You don't beg. And you don't tolerate less than you deserve. That clarity is magnetic because it shows you know your worth. Third, detachment amplifies your presence. When you are not chasing, not begging, not desperate for validation, you radiate calm confidence. People feel it. They sense it in the way you carry yourself. in the way you respond or don't respond. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability creates intrigue. No one is curious about the person who gives everything away instantly, but the person who holds back, who doesn't rush, who chooses with discernment, that person becomes the mystery others want to solve. Detachment is also a form of self-respect. It's you saying, I will not beg for what should flow naturally. I will not reduce myself just to be accepted. I will not hold on tighter to someone who does not hold on to me. That self-respect speaks louder than words, and people feel it even when you don't announce it. They sense that you are not afraid to walk away, and paradoxically, that makes them want to hold you closer, because deep down, everyone wants to be chosen, not out of need, but out of genuine desire. This is where detachment becomes truly powerful. When you don't need anyone, your presence becomes a privilege, not a given. And when people sense they could lose you, they value you more. It's human nature. What is scarce is precious, and what is abundant is ignored. When you are attached, you flood the market with yourself. You become common. When you are detached, you raise your value. You signal that your time, energy, and attention are not for everyone. And that scarcity creates attraction. But let's be clear, detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't love. It means you love from a place of strength, not weakness. It means you care because you choose to, not because you're afraid not to. It means your relationships are built on freedom, not fear. And that freedom is what makes your love more powerful. Because when someone knows you don't need them, they also know that if you stay, it's because you truly want to. That makes your presence infinitely more meaningful. There's another layer to this. Detachment protects your energy. When you're attached, you bleed energy, you overthink, you worry, you stress over every message, every call, every sign of attention. You live in constant anxiety of losing what you think defines you. That drains you. But detachment cuts off the leak. It keeps your energy intact. And when your energy is intact, you can direct it toward growth, purpose, and progress. That shift not only strengthens you, it makes you more attractive, because nothing pulls people in like someone who is focused, grounded, moving forward. Detachment also builds resilience. Life is unpredictable. People change, situations shift, and nothing is permanent. If you live attached, every loss breaks you. But if you live detached, you bend, but you don't break. You adapt. You keep moving. You hold yourself steady, regardless of who comes or goes. And that resilience isn't just for you, it inspires others. People are drawn to strength, and detachment is one of the purest displays of it. So understand this. Detachment is not indifference. It's not apathy. It's not shutting yourself off from connection. It's stepping into your own power, so fully that no connection has the ability to control you. It's loving without losing yourself. It's giving without emptying yourself. It's standing in relationships, not because you can't live without them, but because you choose to live with them. That is the deepest form of attraction, when you are free enough to walk away, but strong enough to stay only when it's right. That's why detachment is not a weakness. It is the strongest position you can hold. It's the position of choice, not need. And in life, the person who has choice always has power. Scarcity has always been the foundation of value. It doesn't matter if we're talking about gold, diamonds, rare art, or human attention. The less available something is, the more people want it. It's basic psychology and human nature. What is difficult to attain feels more valuable, and what is always available is easily taken for granted. This principle applies not only to objects, but also to people. And when you understand it, you realize why detachment creates such a powerful form of attraction. Think about the relationships and connections in your life. The ones you took for granted were often the ones that were always there, always accessible, always giving without limit. The people you valued most deeply were the ones who had boundaries, who were not constantly available, who made you earn their time and respect. That's not arrogance, that's scarcity. And scarcity is what makes people stop, notice, and desire more. Detachment is the art of creating healthy scarcity. It's you pulling back your constant need to be seen, heard, or validated, and instead allowing your presence to be felt in small, meaningful doses. It's not withholding love out of spite. It's understanding that what you give freely without boundaries loses its impact. The more someone has unlimited access to you, the less they appreciate you. But when you step back, when you create space, when you stop flooding their world with your presence, they begin to feel the weight of your absence. And absence creates desire. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, someone calls and you always answer instantly. They text and you respond within seconds. They ask for your time and you drop everything for them. At first, they might appreciate it, but eventually they start to expect it. It becomes normal. And once something becomes expected, it loses its value. In the second scenario, you answer when you can, not when you're demanded. You're available, but not on call. Your time is given, but it's clear that it's precious. Now suddenly, every interaction carries more weight. They notice when you're around, and they feel it when you're not. That's scarcity at work. Scarcity also ties directly to respect. When you are too available, people assume you don't have much else going on. They may not say it, but subconsciously they think, if you're always here for me, maybe your time isn't that valuable. But when you create scarcity, when you are selective with your time and energy, people assume the opposite. They believe, if this person is giving me their attention, it must mean something, because they don't give it to everyone. That assumption builds respect and makes your presence more attractive. Now, let's go deeper. Why does scarcity work so powerfully? Because humans are wired to chase what they cannot easily have. The moment you step back, you create uncertainty. You remove the guarantee. And the human brain hates uncertainty. It makes people want to resolve it, to lean in, to pursue. When someone knows they can't fully predict your behavior or your attention, it triggers curiosity. Curiosity drives interest, and interest fuels attraction. This is why detachment creates magnetism. It introduces scarcity into the dynamic. You are no longer chasing, no longer flooding them with attention, no longer begging to be seen. Instead, you're pulling back, standing still, making them wonder. And that wondering is what creates the deepest pull. People are not drawn to what they understand fully. They're drawn to what they don't yet have complete access to. Scarcity also protects you. When you make yourself scarce, you naturally filter out those who don't truly value you. The people who are only there because you're always available will fade away once you stop handing yourself over so easily. The ones who truly appreciate your presence will step up, will notice the difference, and will begin to invest more. In this way, scarcity acts as a sorting mechanism. It reveals who deserves your energy and who doesn't. There's another truth to this. Overexposure kills desire. Just like with anything in life, too much access leads to complacency. Think about your favorite song. When you first hear it, it hits deeply. You play it again and again, but eventually you burn it out. You stop feeling the same spark. But then you stop listening for months. And when it comes on again, you fall in love with it like it's brand new. That's scarcity. Inaction. When something is pulled away, its value renews. The same is true with people. If you are always there, you risk being background noise. But if you create space, you give others the chance to miss you. And missing you is what makes them crave you. Detachment creates this balance beautifully. It allows you to be present without being overexposed. It lets you show care without smothering. It gives you the ability to love without losing your sense of value. And that balance is irresistible because it keeps the connection alive with just enough tension to sustain attraction. Scarcity also demonstrates strength. Anyone can give themselves away endlessly, but it takes discipline to hold back. It takes confidence to say, I don't have to be everywhere. For everyone, at all times. I know my worth, and I won't dilute it. That strength shows people you are not desperate for their attention. And ironically, that's what makes them give it to you. People are drawn to those who don't beg, because begging signals lack, scarcity signals abundance. You're so complete on your own that you don't need to overextend, and abundance is magnetic. Let's be clear though, scarcity doesn't mean manipulation. It's not about playing games, intentionally withholding or trying to make someone chase you. True scarcity comes from a place of authenticity. It's the natural result of living a full life, pursuing your goals, protecting your energy, and not making yourself available to everyone at all times. When you're detached in this way, your time naturally becomes scarce because it's invested in meaningful pursuits. And that natural scarcity is what people feel and respect. In the end, scarcity is about value, and value is about boundaries. You cannot be valuable to others if you are constantly depleting yourself. You cannot be attractive if you're always available without cost. You cannot be respected if you don't respect your own time. Detachment creates scarcity, and scarcity builds value. The less you chase, the more you're chased. The less you give away, the more people want what you have. The less available you are, the more people notice when you show up. That's why scarcity is powerful. And that's why detachment is not only protection, it's attraction. Because in a world where everyone is screaming for attention, the quiet presence of someone who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't overexpose themselves becomes unforgettable. Emotional control is one of the most magnetic forces a person can possess. It is the difference between someone who commands a room with quiet strength and someone who drains it with frantic energy. When you master emotional control, you become someone people are drawn to. Not because you demand attention, but because you radiate stability, confidence, and calm, and in a world full of chaos, that stability is irresistible. Think about the people you respect most in your life. Are they the ones who react wildly to every situation, or are they the ones who remain steady, no matter what? When everyone else is panicking, the person who keeps their composure becomes the anchor. They become the one others look to for direction, comfort, or inspiration. That is the essence of emotional control. It makes you magnetic because you represent what others crave, but cannot find within themselves. When you lack emotional control, you give your power away. You become reactive. Someone insults you and you explode. Someone ignores you and you spiral. Someone withdraws and you chase harder. In those moments, you're no longer in control. Your behavior becomes dictated by their actions. And the more reactive you are, the less attractive you become. Because desperation and instability repel. But when you master emotional control, you send a completely different message. I am steady. I am whole. I cannot be shaken by your words, your silence, or your choices. That message is deeply attractive because it shows independence and strength. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean you're a robot or that you suppress everything inside. It means you feel deeply, but you choose when and how to express it. You don't hand people your emotions like weapons they can use against you. Instead, you protect them, manage them, and express them with intention. That restraint is powerful. It makes people curious about you because you're not predictable, and unpredictability creates intrigue. Let's look at relationships. When you're emotionally reactive, you chase validation. If someone pulls away, you panic. If they don't reply, you blow up their phone. If they disappoint you, you lash out. All of this signals that your emotions are at their mercy. But when you have control, you step back. You pause. You breathe before responding. You choose silence over reaction, calm over chaos. Suddenly, the entire dynamic shifts. They no longer feel they can toy with you because they can't get the rise out of you they expected, and ironically, that makes them respect you more. People are wired to test boundaries, even subconsciously. They test your patience, your limits, your control. Not because they're evil, but because human nature is curious. How much can I push before this person breaks? When you break easily, you lose respect. When you remain steady, you earn it. Emotional control communicates that you cannot be manipulated, and that resistance is highly attractive. People respect those who cannot be easily swayed. Another reason emotional control is magnetic is because it demonstrates confidence. Insecure people react instantly because they're trying to prove something. Confident people don't need to prove. They already know their worth, and because of that, they take their time. They don't rush to defend themselves against every comment. They don't need to win every argument. They don't beg for attention when it's withheld. That calm restraint communicates power, and people are drawn to power. There's also an element of mystery to emotional control. When you don't reveal everything you're feeling in the moment, people are left guessing. They wonder what's on your mind, how you truly feel, and what you're planning next. That mystery makes them lean in because curiosity fuels attraction. Compare that to someone who wears every emotion on their sleeve, reacting loudly to every situation. There's nothing to discover. No intrigue, no pull. Emotional control leaves room for imagination. And imagination is where desire grows. Now, consider how emotional control impacts conflict. Most people escalate. They yell, argue, defend, attack, but the person with control does the opposite. They de-escalate. They lower their voice instead of raising it. They pause instead of lashing out. They listen instead of interrupting. That composure commands respect because it shows strength without aggression. And in many cases, it leaves the other person feeling unsettled because they expected chaos and received calm instead. That unexpected calm makes you unforgettable. Another layer of this is how emotional control affects your presence. People feel energy. Walk into a room, anxious, frantic, or reactive, and you spread that energy like wildfire. Walk in calm, grounded, and centered, and people feel it just as strongly. Emotional control allows you to carry an energy that others want to be around. It makes people feel safer, more comfortable, more focused when they're with you. That's why leaders, mentors, and role models with strong emotional control are so admired. They create a sense of stability in unstable environments. Emotional control also protects your reputation. Every time you lose it, whether in anger, jealousy, or desperation, you leave a mark. People remember the outburst, the meltdown, the neediness. But when you maintain control, your reputation builds on strength, maturity, and confidence. People begin to associate you with composure, and that association increases your influence. The more control you show, the more people trust you. And trust is the foundation of attraction, whether personal or professional. Now, this doesn't mean you never show emotion. Emotional control is not suppression, it's mastery. It's choosing the right time, the right place, and the right intensity. When you choose instead of react, your emotions carry more weight. Think about a leader who rarely raises their voice. When they finally do, everyone listens, because it's rare. But someone who yells constantly, their words lose impact. The same applies to you. When you control your emotions, your expressions of love, anger, or passion become more powerful because they are intentional, not reactionary. At its core, emotional control is magnetic because it signals self-mastery, and self-mastery is rare. Most people are slaves to their impulses. They can't control their temper, their jealousy, their fears. When you show that you can, you stand apart. You become someone people admire, respect, and desire because you represent strength they don't yet possess. That strength is a form of leadership, even if you never claim the title. The real beauty of emotional control is that it doesn't just attract others, it protects you. It shields you from being easily manipulated, from wasting energy on reactions, from losing sight of your bigger goals. Keeps you grounded in a world that thrives on distraction and drama. And when you live in that grounded state, you radiate something people can't help but notice: presence. Presence is magnetic. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It simply exists, steady and undeniable. Emotional control gives you that presence. And when you master it, you stop needing to chase attraction, because attraction starts chasing you. Freedom is one of the most attractive qualities a person can embody. It's not just about physical independence or financial security, though those matter. True freedom is the inner state of not being chained to the approval, validation, or presence of others. It is the ability to say, I can stand alone and I choose to connect with you because I want to, not because I have to. That difference changes everything. It turns your presence into a choice, not a dependency. And when people know you are free, they cannot help but desire you more. Desire thrives on choice, not obligation. When you are tied to someone out of need, the connection feels heavy, suffocating, and transactional. It communicates, I need you to survive. I need you to feel whole. I need you to complete me. That weight is repelling. It puts pressure on the other person and slowly erodes attraction. But when you are free, your presence feels light. It carries no desperation, no clinging, no dependency. Instead, it says, I am complete, I am whole, I am with you, because I choose you. That energy is magnetic, because it makes the other person feel chosen, not obligated. Think about the relationships that lasted in your life versus the ones that collapsed. The ones that lasted were probably not the ones where you suffocated each other with need. They were the ones where freedom existed, where each person could stand alone, yet chose to walk together. Freedom gives space, and space gives desire room to breathe. Without freedom, desire suffocates. With it, desire flourishes. When you are free, you do not fear loss. And that is deeply attractive. Most people live in constant fear of losing the people they love. So they cling harder, grasp tighter, and in doing so, push them away. But when you're free, you know you can survive without anyone. You don't want loss, but you're not ruled by the fear of it. That lack of fear makes you unshakable. And being unshakable is one of the most powerful forms of attraction. People are drawn to those who don't cling, because clinging signals weakness, while freedom signals strength. Freedom also creates curiosity. When you live independently, when you move with purpose, when you don't orbit around someone else's validation, people begin to wonder about you. They ask, why doesn't this person need me the way others do? Why do they seem so fulfilled on their own? What gives them that kind of strength? That curiosity pulls them closer, because humans are fascinated by what they cannot fully understand. The person who is free becomes the person others chase, not because they're withholding, but because they're rare. Here's the paradox. The moment you show that you are willing to walk away, people are more likely to chase you. The moment you stop needing, they start wanting. It's because freedom communicates scarcity. Your attention is not guaranteed. Your presence is not owned. Your love is not automatic. And scarcity always amplifies value. When people know they can't control you, when they know you're free to leave at any moment, they begin to treat your presence as a privilege. And that privilege makes desire burn deeper. Freedom also creates desire because it makes you unpredictable. When you're bound by need, your behavior is predictable. You will always come back, always chase, always fold under pressure. There's no mystery there, no tension, no excitement. But when you're free, people don't know what you'll do next. They know you care, but they also know you're not afraid to move on. That unpredictability keeps the connection alive because uncertainty creates intensity. Another layer of freedom is how it shapes the way you love. When you are free, your love is not about possession. It's not about clinging, controlling, or suffocating. It's about expression, choice, and respect. You love without needing to own. You give without keeping score. You connect without demanding. And that kind of love is rare. It feels lighter, purer, and more attractive. Most people are used to love that feels heavy and demanding. So when they encounter love rooted in freedom, it stands out. It feels refreshing. It makes them want more. Freedom also sharpens your focus on yourself. When you're not consumed by needing others to validate you, you invest in your own growth. You build your career, your body, your mind, your passions. You create a life that is fulfilling on its own. That self-sufficiency makes you even more attractive because people are drawn to those who live fully. Nobody desires the person whose life is empty and waiting to be filled. They desire the one whose life is already vibrant, already full, already magnetic. Freedom allows you to become that person. Now let's flip the perspective. Why are people often more attracted to those who are free than those who are desperate? Because freedom represents abundance. It says, I don't need you. I have options. I am already fulfilled. Desperation represents lack. It says, I need you because I can't get anyone else, because I'm empty without you. Humans are naturally drawn to abundance, not lack. When you're free, you radiate abundance, and abundance is one of the strongest attractors in human psychology. Freedom also creates balance. Relationships without freedom become cages, and cages kill attraction. People want to feel chosen, not trapped. They want to know you're there because you want to be, not because you have no other choice. When you bring freedom into your connections, you give both yourself and the other person room to breathe, to miss, to crave. That breathing space reignites desire again and again because it creates cycles of presence and absence that keep the connection alive. The truth is, freedom is the foundation of true attraction because it makes every interaction authentic. If you're not free, your actions are driven by fear, desperation, or insecurity. But when you're free, everything you give is real. You're not chasing approval. You're expressing choice. You're not staying because you're scared. You're staying because you want to. And when someone knows your presence is a choice, not a need, it means infinitely more to them. So if you want to create deep, lasting attraction, don't cling tighter, don't smother, don't beg, build freedom, build a life that is fulfilling without anyone else. Build confidence in your ability to walk away. Build strength in your independence. And when you bring that freedom into your relationships, desire will follow naturally because freedom is irresistible. Freedom doesn't push people away. It pulls them in. It tells them, I don't need you, but I choose you. And that choice, that freedom is the deepest form of desire there is. Detachment elevates your value because it communicates the one thing most people can't fake, self-respect. When you're detached, you're not begging for attention. You're not chasing after scraps of love, and you're not bending yourself into pieces just to be chosen. Instead, you're rooted in your own worth, and that worth naturally raises the way people see you. It's not arrogance. It's not coldness. It's quiet confidence that says, I know what I bring to the table, and I will not discount myself for anyone. That mindset changes the entire dynamic of how people respond to you. The problem with attachment is that it lowers your perceived value. When you cling, when you chase, when you can't walk away, what you're really signaling is, I don't believe I'm enough on my own. That energy pushes people away because humans instinctively want what is strong, rare, and difficult to obtain. When you attach too tightly, you communicate weakness, scarcity, and fear. But when you detach, you flip the script. You show that you are whole already, and that makes you rare. And rarity always raises value. Detachment also elevates your value because it creates contrast. Most people are overly available, overly eager, overly invested from the start. They give away their time, energy, and love with no boundaries. And in doing so, they dilute their worth. When you are detached, you create a different experience. You don't flood people with your presence. You don't hand over all your energy at once. You move with discernment. You give with intention, and you protect your time. That contrast makes people stop and notice you. They think, why isn't this person chasing like everyone else? Why do they seem so calm, so composed, so grounded? That intrigue elevates your value because it sets you apart from the crowd. There's also a psychological principle at play here. People value what they have to earn. If you give everything too quickly, if you make yourself too easy to access, people subconsciously assume you're not valuable. But if they have to work for your attention, if they have to earn your trust, if they have to rise to your standards, they respect it more. Detachment makes this possible because it forces people to step up rather than allowing them to coast on your constant availability. It's not about playing games, it's about holding your ground and showing that your presence is not free. Another layer of this is how detachment creates emotional stability. When you are attached, your value is dependent on how others treat you. If they love you, you feel worthy. If they reject you, you feel worthless. That instability makes you fragile, but when you're detached, your value is internal. It's not up for debate. It's not dictated by anyone else's approval. That kind of unshakable confidence makes people take you seriously. They know you won't crumble if they withdraw, and that strength elevates how they see you. Detachment also shifts the power dynamic. When you are overly attached, you give away control. You react to every message, every mood, every gesture. The other person becomes the one steering the connection, and you're left chasing. But when you're detached, you hold the power. You decide how much access people get. You decide how deeply you invest. You decide who earns a place in your life. That shift is powerful because it signals leadership. And in relationships, romantic, personal, or professional, people are naturally drawn to those who lead. not those who follow blindly. Think of it like this. Diamonds are valuable, not just because they're beautiful, but because they're rare and hard to obtain. If diamonds were scattered on every sidewalk, they'd be worthless. Your attention works the same way. If it's available to everyone, it loses meaning. If it's protected, scarce, and given only to those who prove worthy, it skyrockets in value. Detachment is how you become that diamond, rare, respected, and sought after. Detachment also creates an aura of mystery. And mystery elevates value. When people can't predict your every move, when they don't have unlimited access to your thoughts and emotions, they become curious. Curiosity is powerful. It drives people to lean in, to want more, to seek your presence. Compare that to someone who overshares, overexplains, and overgives. There's no mystery there, no intrigue, no chase. Detachment makes you the person who doesn't reveal everything at once, and that subtle restraint draws people in. Another way detachment raises your value is by setting standards. When you are detached, you don't tolerate disrespect. You don't settle for half-hearted effort. You don't stick around when someone shows you they don't value you. That boundary is magnetic because people recognize that you live by principles, not desperation. And when someone does earn your attention, it means infinitely more because they know it wasn't given cheaply. Your love, your trust, your time, these things become priceless because they are not automatic. Detachment also communicates abundance. When you are attached, you communicate lack. You're saying, I can't let go of this person because I don't believe I'll find better. That desperation lowers your value. But when you detach, you communicate the opposite. I am whole. I have options. I am not afraid of being alone. That abundance mindset elevates your worth in the eyes of others because people are drawn to those who believe in themselves. Abundance attracts, lack repels. Even in professional settings, detachment elevates value. The employee who constantly seeks approval looks insecure. The one who quietly delivers results and doesn't need constant validation earns respect. The leader who panics under pressure loses authority. The one who remains calm, detached from chaos, and focused on solutions commands loyalty. Detachment shows up as composure, and composure always raises value. At its core, detachment elevates your value because it forces people to recognize that your worth is not negotiable. You are not lowering your price tag just to be chosen. You are not discounting yourself to stay in someone's life. You know your worth, you protect it, and you let others rise to meet it. And that shift from chasing to choosing is what transforms you into someone people desire, respect, and admire. So understand this, the less you attach your value to others, the more they will value you. The less you chase, the more you're chased. The less you give yourself away, the more people will fight to earn a place beside you. Detachment isn't about being heartless. It's about being priceless. And when you live that truth, your value doesn't just rise, it becomes undeniable. At the end of the day, detachment is not about pushing people away, and it's certainly not about building walls so high that no one can reach you. Detachment is about standing tall in your own worth and refusing to let anyone else dictate your value. It's about choosing love, connection, and relationships from a place of freedom, not fear. When you live this way, you stop chasing, you stop begging, and you stop handing over your power. Instead, you become the kind of person others cannot ignore. Detachment creates the deepest attraction because it transforms you from someone who needs into someone who chooses, and choice is infinitely more powerful than desperation. People respect what they cannot control. They value what they cannot easily have. They desire what feels rare. When you are detached, you embody all of that. You become the diamond in a world of stones. So here's the truth you need to carry with you. Never cling so tightly to anyone that you lose yourself. Never beg for what should flow naturally. Never hand away your worth just to feel wanted. Detach, not because you don't care, but because you care enough about yourself to protect your energy, your peace, and your dignity. When you do, something incredible happens. The right people lean in closer, the wrong people fall away, and you remain steady, grounded, and unshakably whole. That is power, that is freedom, and that is the kind of presence that draws the deepest attraction, the kind that doesn't fade, the kind that doesn't beg, the kind that lasts. Detach not to lose but to rise. Because when you stand in your power, everything meant for you will find its way, and it will hold on tighter than anything you ever had to chase.